What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Two Wheeled Rider YouTube channel. My name is Mario Orsini, and in today's video, we are going to talk about the Bridgestone Battle Axe Adventure Cross AX41 tires. All right, so before we get started, if you're looking for a long-term review on how long these tires last, I can't answer that at the moment because I've only put a little over 700 miles on them, though I will touch on that a little bit toward the end of the video. But let's get to talking about the tires themselves. These were brand new for 2019, made by Bridgestone, the Battle Axe Adventure Cross AX41s. This is a dual sport / adventure tire, obviously made for adventure bikes. I had these mounted on my 2016 KTM 1290 Super Adventure. I've got a 19-inch front, 17-inch rear. This is what Bridgestone refers to as a 40-60 tire, 40% on-road, 60% off-road. They are DOT approved. They're also tubeless tires, so you've got to be running. You could run these with tubes, but they are designed to run tubeless. Retail on a set of these tires, depending on application, for a pair is probably going to run you around $500. Actual price, though, what you'd pay online or through your dealer, not counting mount and balance, you're probably looking at about $330, $350, depending on what size tires you need. All right, so when it comes to mount and balancing the tires, I did not find these tires to be any more difficult than the TrailTac 2s I run on my bike to get mounted or taken back off the wheels, which I've obviously done. So that's good. The sidewall wasn't too stiff or too much of a pain in the butt to deal with. But let me get to my impressions of these tires. So first off, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the overall look or appearance of the tire. I know some guys aren't really going to ride their adventure bikes too much off-road, so if you just want the look, these tires are pretty aggressive. They've got some pretty large knobbies on them, or, you know, large blocks. They look cool. As soon as I put them on my bike, I was like, wow, it really looks like an adventure bike now versus, you know, kind of touring mode that I normally have it in. Up front, I have not had a chance to test these in the wet, either off-road or on-road. Talked to my buddy Dan DeMeo over at ADV Moto Magazine. He's been running them on his personal bike for a while. He has reported back that at least on-road in wet conditions, they handle extremely well, so I'll have to take his word for it until I'm able to further test them. But let me give you my impressions of what they're like on-road. So throughout this video, I'm going to be kind of comparing these a little bit to the Continental tires, which typically come factory on KTM adventure bikes, because that's what my experience is on those bikes, both with the TrailTac 2 tires, a little bit with the TKC 70s, and then probably this tire's main competitor, the TKC 80, which is also a 40-60 tire made by Continental. So on road, I actually found the handling to be pretty good. Now, it's not going to be as good as it is on a 90-10 tire or a true street tire, but still give you pretty good confidence. One of the things I noticed, though, is that lean in on the bike is not as linear as it is with the TrailTac 2s, meaning initial lean in's pretty normal, and then there's a bit of a step to get it leaned over further. Once you get used to that, no big deal, but it's a little funky to get used to early on, but it probably takes you like 10, 15 corners before you kind of get the feel for that. The other thing I noticed is once you get over to, I'm going to call it maybe not full lean, but a pretty significant lean angle, these tires compared to the TKC 80s, the TKC 80s will, you know, kind of move under you a little bit. You feel them, you feel a little bit of the knob moving under you. These, I didn't. They were much more planted than the TKC 80s at a more extreme lean angle. However, where they fall short of the TKC 80s on road, these are by far the loudest tires I've ever ridden on. If you watched any of my my Mid-Atlantic BDR series, which I'll link up here, when you hear me on the interstate, holy crap, are these things loud. So I would recommend earplugs if you're going to ride these things, you know, at highway speeds very often, because they are extremely loud. All right, so next up, let's talk about how they do off-road. If we're talking about well-groomed gravel roads, I don't think you're going to notice much of an advantage these tires compared to like a 90-10 TrailTac 2. They do fine. I just didn't get any more confidence out of these than I do my 90-10 tire. However, where they do step into play is you start to get into deeper gravel or gravel that's not as well maintained, or you're on a well-paved road and then all of a sudden you get a deep section. That's where you get the confidence back out of these things, and they do extremely well. As we work our way into deeper gravel, washouts, ruts, dirt, those sorts of things, that's where these tires start to shine, and they give you far more confidence than a 90-10 tire will. Again, I didn't get a chance to ride these in the wet off-road. These things are definitely going to clean themselves out far better than my Trail Attacks, and I can say that because I've had my Trail Attacks in mud, and they're not very good. They just don't clean themselves out. When it comes to rocky stuff and more extreme stuff, it's kind of a mixed bag. They handled really, really well, but unfortunately, I'll get you a close-up here, I had a puncture in one of these tires on the second day out doing anything off-road. I was able to plug that puncture, but it wasn't great. And that's why these things are off the bike right now, because after I got home, I came back in and I patched up where that plug was because it was still losing a little bit of air. So I will try these out further because I'm not going to throw these tires away. These were not provided to me by Bridgestone. I paid for them myself, so I want to get full use out of them. But that was unfortunate. And I did have the air pressure up on these tires. My Super Adventure's heavy. I was running the bags on it, so I kept the air pressure up. Unfortunately, I don't really know what rock got me. We did get a puncture, and you know, that kind of left me not stranded, but ended my trip a little bit earlier. So kind of a mixed bag when you get into more extreme stuff. Probably just bad luck on my part, but I don't really have anything bad to say about these tires. I'm glad I've got them. I'm looking forward to throwing them back on the bike at some point. All right, so last but not least, long term, how long are they going to last? Obviously, I only have 709 miles on these tires, so I can't really say how long they're going to last. They still look basically like new. I have read some reports where guys are getting 5,000, 5,500 miles out of them, you know, mixed trail and on-road on similar weight bikes. So that's probably what you can expect. My Trail Attacks, I usually get around 8,000 or so out of a set of those. I know with the TKC 80s, some buddies of mine are only getting 3,000 to 3,500 miles out of them, albeit they're probably a little more on-road than they are off, which is going to eat them up a little faster. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Bridgestone Battle Axe Adventure Cross AX41 tires. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, well, this is the place to be. If you have any additional questions about these tires, especially if you're tuning in months from the recording and maybe I've had a chance to ride them in the wet, both on-road and off-road, let me know down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And once I'm able to test them in the wet, in the mud, those sorts of things, I'll probably do an update video. And we've got some more tires that I'm going to talk about, so look for that in an upcoming video as well. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.